Like honestly, how much does it cost to make a movie? I mean, if you've watched any low budget films, you're probably like, I could do that myself, right? But if you've watched some big budget Hollywood movies, those things can get up there. 100 million, 200 million, those budgets can be ridiculous. And in case you didn't know, that doesn't even include the advertising costs. So when you ask how much does it cost to make a movie, my answer is, how much money do you have? But for the purposes of this video, I'm gonna break it down to the simplest parts. There are large crews, medium crews, small crews, skeleton crews, but what I'm about to give you is what I call the crackhead crew, okay?
Sometimes the endless pursuit of crack leaves me tired and depleted.
In my opinion, in order to figure out how much your movie is gonna cost, first you need to start with your crew. First, you need to budget your crew. Then once you budget your crew, you can get into everything else, right? Now, I have what I call a crackhead crew. No offense, but this is an essential 6 people that you need on your production team. Possibly a 7th, all right? I'm gonna run through this list. I'm gonna provide some loose day rates, and then we can start figuring out the numbers of how much a movie costs, all right? This is in no particular order. I'm just numbering them as I say them. So number 1 is you need a writer, because what the hell are you gonna shoot? You need a writer. You need someone who's going to write the script that these actors are gonna be reading from. Okay, so that's number 1. You need a writer. Now, how much does it cost for a writer? That can range. It depends on what type of deal that you work out with the writer. You can offer the writer a flat fee. You might say, hey, I'll give you $500 if you write a script. You can say, hey, I'll give you $1,000 if you write a script. You can say, hey, I'll give you some of the back end. I'll give you a percentage of the money that we make when the movie comes out. So there's different ways that you can negotiate with the writer to get a script. It just depends on how good you are at negotiating. Number 2, you need a director. And when I say director, I use that kind of loosely, even though I'm a director and a director is very important. What I mean in this sense is you need someone who's going to be able to direct, but if you're lucky, they can also camera op and do cinematography. Remember, we're talking about independent film, small budget production. So you need a director who knows what he's doing, how to direct talent, how to frame shots, how to get what he needs to get out of the actor and make this thing look good. So when I say director in this sense, I'm talking about someone who's also a cinematographer and preferably someone who is also a camera operator, meaning they can operate the camera. Because in Hollywood, a lot of directors don't touch cameras. You may not know that. Some of your favorite directors do not touch cameras at all. And what goes right along with that is equipment, right? So what a lot of people don't know is that equipment and operator don't go hand in hand. I tend to look for a person who knows how to do it that has their own equipment. But generally speaking, when you hire a camera op, a DP, cinematographer, even a gaffer, a lighting person, the equipment is separate. You have to pay for them and then you have to pay for their equipment. I tend to look for people who have their own equipment because I get a better deal when it comes to renting their equipment. But that is just how it works. I'm a camera operator, but I also have camera equipment. When you hire me, you're hiring me for my knowledge of what I can do with a camera. You're not hiring my camera. Number 3, you have to have an editor. Someone who's going to edit your content once you finish shooting it. Here's the thing, an editor is different from a colorist. An editor is different from special effects. An editor is different from sound design. These are different roles. But when you're working on independent films, you want to find someone who has experience or who has knowledge of all of those. And to be quite honest, most editors in the independent field have a little bit of knowledge on coloring. They can do some basic coloring. But if you were working on a big Hollywood set, the colorist is a whole separate expertise on its own. So don't get mad if you find an editor and he's like, I don't do special effects. I don't do sound design. I don't do coloring. That's not his job. If you find one who does do it, then that's a blessing, all right? But you need an editor. Number 4, you need a sound recordist. There's nothing worse than having a movie with horrible sound. I know. Okay, so you need to find someone who is good with doing sound, someone who has that boom pole, someone who has those lavalier mics, someone who is going to focus strictly on making sure that your project sounds good. That's a sound recordist. Whatever their setup is, that's another thing. They usually have their own equipment. Whatever their setup is, you want that, and you want that person who's going to be focused on the sound. You want that person to be like, hold up, there's an airplane flying by. Let's take that again. You need that person. Trust me, you don't want someone who doesn't know what they're doing. I did a project and the guy was a PA and we gave him the boom mic and he was pointing it at the back of the actor's head. And I almost lost my mind. I was like, is there a second mouth back there? Like, why is, okay. So yeah, sound, make sure you get your sound guy. Number 5, your gaffer, your lighting. You need someone who's going to do lighting. If you look at movies, right, and you see the big productions and then you see the independent productions, one of the things that separates the two, it's not the camera, it's the lighting. There's something called cinematic lighting, which is very different from just turning on the lights. It's very different from the light we just see every day with our eyes. Next time you watch a good movie, something that's been like Oscar nominated, if you look at the lighting closely, it's different. It's not just somebody threw some lights on and people started acting. This lighting I got going on right here, this is not cinematic lighting. This is just, I turned on some damn lights and pointed it at my face. You don't want a person like that. The proper lighting person is gonna make your movie look incredible. Trust me. There's going to be a big difference, the way light lands, the way shadows play, the way the coloring, the way the background is, the separation. It's just going to do wonders for your project. So make sure you invest in a lighting person, a gaffer. Those are the 5 essentials, but I got to throw in producer because a producer is going to help you put things together. A producer is going to help alleviate some of the stress off your back, right? So a producer's job, you've got assistant producers, you've got producers assistants, you've got executive producers, associate producers, co-producers. You got so many different producers, and depending on who you ask, they'll give you a different explanation of what that job title means. What I mean right here when I say producer is someone that is helping to pull everything together. That is what you need in a producer, someone who helps to produce this movie. Trust me, it is much better when you have someone who is focused on just that, not someone who's doing this job, that job, this job. A producer contacting your actors, dealing with your call sheet, scheduling, making sure the team is together, etc., etc. That is what you need to. That is going to make things easy for you. Number 7, an honorable mention, is you need a PA, a production assistant. You already have a small crew with this setup that I'm talking about, this crackhead crew. So you need a production assistant that's going to be there to help everybody else. But if you do this right, everybody's going to wear multiple hats. So everybody is going to be a PA. That director, he's going to be moving his own camera. That lighting guy, he's going to be moving his own lights. Most of the time though, they bring somebody with them. So that is your essential 7 to your production team. You can break it down by taking off a PA and then everybody else is a PA. You could take off a producer if you're gonna wear the hat as a producer and then have 5, but you can't make it any less than 5 unless you have expertise in one of those other areas. If you're a director, then yeah, but you're still gonna need those 5 people, right? It'll be you plus 4 other people. Now, the costs associated with these roles. Writer, already spoke about that. That's up to you how you negotiate that. Director, that can range from, he's a director, a camera operator, and he has his own equipment. Yeah, you're looking about $500 a day, maybe. And you can be flexible and negotiate some things there. $1,000 if it's someone who has experience, $1,500 if they have great equipment and experience. So it can flip. Editor. Editors are different. The standard is to charge per hour. I never paid an editor per hour. It just didn't make sense to me. And I'm an editor. I don't even get paid an hour. But now editor can range. Some editors will charge you flat to do the movie. I had an editor quote me one time $9,000 to edit my movie. I had another editor tell me $3,000 to edit my movie. And then I had another editor tell me $500 to edit my movie. But I will say in the editing space, you get what you pay for. Make sure you look for an editor's previous work before you hire them. Sound, in my experience, the sound recorders that I've worked with, they've always been in the $800 to $1,000 range. But again, it's all negotiable. I worked with a sound guy who was about $150 a day. He wasn't the greatest, but he was committed, he was new, he had some equipment that he bought, and he was really trying to break into the field. Lighting is very, very important. Their equipment also is expensive. I think the lowest I've paid for light was free, but they didn't know what the hell they were doing. I usually pay about $500 to $800 a day for a lighting guy, and I'm sure I can negotiate it down, but here's the thing. Most of the time, there are gonna be at least two of them, which means that they both have to eat off of that money. So I understand, and they're bringing all of their equipment. So I don't mind paying $500 to $800 a day if they're gonna come there and do what they're supposed to do. Producer, I don't know how much producers cost. I've never paid a producer. I've always done back-end splits with producers. But if I remember correctly, if I'm wrong, just leave it in the comments. You can get an independent producer for about $500 a day, I think. Please forgive me if I'm wrong. Matter of fact, let me Google it real quick. What is a day rate for an indie producer? Well, it says $650. If I look through my notes, I did work with, actually, I've worked with several producers. I just don't remember what I paid those guys. It's maybe $450, $500 a day, somewhere around there. I know I've paid more than that for producers as well, but again, that's negotiable, okay? So whoever you talk to, whoever you have your eye on as being your producer, that's something you can work out with them. And lastly, a PA. PAs are the backbone, but PAs, you can get a dime a dozen. No disrespect to PAs. You obviously want a PA that knows what they're doing. I have a PA that I work with a lot on my different productions. Her name is Michelle, but she's actually a certified production assistant. There's a program in New York called Made in New York, actually, where they train individuals to become professional production assistants. They take them on sets, they teach them all the lingo, they give them the whole shebang. So I work with her a lot because she knows how to be on set. She knows how to be quiet. She knows how to lock up the crew. She knows how to follow instructions. She knows the protocol to be on set. I usually use her a lot and I set her as my key PA. But I've also used my nephew as a PA. I've also used the sons of friends as PAs. So you can use anybody as a PA as long as they can follow instructions. Now the rate, it can range again from free to $100, $150. I hear around California they're paying like $250, $300 a day for PAs. Or is that extras? I don't remember. But for me, when I'm working on small independent productions, I usually allocate in the budget maybe $100 to $150 per day for the PA. And this is just a loose breakdown of the essentials of your production crew. This doesn't include stuff like your locations, wardrobes. Do you need props? Props can be costly. Props can also be inexpensive if you know how to shop. I'll give you a trick. Every year around Halloween, I go and get props. The week after Halloween, when those shops are still open, I go out there and buy up all the stuff that I can get. I get the fake blood, I get the costumes, I get the makeup, I get everything that I can use later on in the year, but I love when Halloween comes around because that's when I get a lot of my props. And then there's stuff that you could get online as well. Now, by no means is this like extensive. This works for different people. For me, I know I have access to certain things, so I can work with a skeleton crew, right? I also know that I can wear several hats myself. I can edit, so I can cut that cost if I need to. I can direct, I can produce, I can write. I can cut a lot of costs if I need to. I don't always want to, but I can do it. Now, for some of you, you may not be able to cut any of those costs. So you have to figure out your budget based on your negotiation skills. So you have to factor in food. Food expenses. Food can get expensive depending on how you do it. We usually do 2 meals a day. We'll do a lunch and we'll do a dinner. A lot of productions that I've been on, they make sure that they rack up on snacks because throughout the day, between scenes, people like to eat snacks. This is stuff you could get from Costco or call your friend who's getting food stamps. You know how to do it. Come on. Now that I've given you all this information, you have a starting place to put together your budget. Some of you might be like, where do I start? I'm going to tell you, one of the sites that I've gone to a lot over the years, I mean for years and for multiple productions, is Mandy.com. They're not giving me anything. There's no affiliate link. I just use them a lot. Mandy.com. You can find your crew and you can find your actors. And I believe it's free. I think you can pay to boost your post, whether you're looking for actors or whether you're looking for your team or whatever you're looking for involved with creating your project. You can go to Mandy.com and you can list your stuff right there. I think it's for free. Another site that I've used in recent times is the Hardest Network. I know the owner, Shaw Peters. It's more so for actors, but if you're a director or a producer, you can have your stuff posted there and you'll get people coming. And I think that's all for this video. It's got a lot longer than I expected it to be, but thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you on the next video. Do not forget, hit the link in the description if you want to book a one-on-one call with me and we can talk about your production. I can answer your questions. We can figure this out, or get my Filmmaker's Journal book on Amazon right now. And if you're just a regular YouTube content creator, I promise you, you will love the YouTube planner. All right, and on that note, I will see you guys next video.
Your Filmmaker's Journal is where great ideas begin. Sketch scenes, jot down dialogue, and refine your vision. Start writing today and bring your movie to life.
A lot of times on a large set, there'll be so many people doing different jobs, and so in that sense, it's good to have people doing. I'm going to try to reduce the cost to the lowest common denominator. Now, I'm going to try to reduce the cost as low as I possibly can, and it's still not going to be the lowest because